Exodus 19:3 caught my eye, and in the Amplified it says, Moses went up to God, and the Lord called to him out of the mountain, say this to the house of Jacob and tell the Israelites. And my question is, what's the difference between saying and telling in the house of Jacob and the house of Israel?
Okay. The root for say is amar. You're going to, speak, in other words. The word here that is translated tell, the root of it, it's kind of like in a story type thing.
Okay, like a parable.
Think Haggadah, because it's related to the same word. Okay, the Hebrew word that is translated to tell here, it's related to the word from which we get Haggadah. You know what the Haggadah is, right?
No.
The Passover Haggadah.
Oh,
the
yes.
little booklet we
Yes,
have at the
yes.
Seder.
Yes.
Okay, it's the telling of the story.
Okay.
And so we're going through the Haggadah, and it is telling the story. And so you're going to say things, we can say, in very limited space of time, we can say this, we can say that. But telling, telling is you're recounting something. You're going through the history of it. You're going step by step by step by step and telling them how this all come about. And so one of the first things it says is, you saw what I did to the Egyptians. All right, that's a brief statement, but there's a lot that's embedded in that statement. It's pregnant with a lot of information, a lot of things that have happened, right?
Right.
So how do you relate that to somebody? You have to tell them these things. So that's a basic difference.
Okay. And then he was distinguishing a difference between the Jews and Israel. So would that be like the difference between Jews and the mixed believing?
I don't see it that way. I'll tell you certain things like this, because I asked a similar question a long time ago.
Okay.
When you read a lot of the scripture, you'll see it say one thing, and it'll seem to say almost the exact same thing, but just different wording. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
Okay. And it was my understanding, I talked to a Hebrew scholar at the time, and I asked him that question. And apparently, in the way Hebrew is set up, there is a certain poetic style when things are doubled, but you can say it a different way. It's not the same thing, but there are places in Scripture where it's translated perfect peace, but the word for perfect and the word for peace are the same word. Shalom, shalom. It's doubled. All right. So off the top of my head, and I'm not going to say this is the definitive answer on this, but I would say that this is one of those times when it's saying the same thing, it's just wording it a different way. Now, footnote to that. There are times that there are distinctions made.
Okay.
And so we have to, just case by case, verse by verse, we have to determine, are there distinctions here? And this one, it's the same group of people. It's the same congregation. He's speaking to the house of Jacob. Well, that is the children of Israel. And so if there's anything to be distinguished there, I can't discern it.
So for it to be doubled, it'd be a double emphasis, perhaps.
All right. Again, apples and oranges. And I got just a couple of minutes here. But apples and oranges. God tells Moses, set boundaries around the mountain.
Right.
Okay, he sets boundaries around the mountain. Moses goes up. God says, tell the people,
right,
don't come up the mountain. Well, you told us to set boundaries so they can't come up. All right, well, go down and tell them, don't come up the mountain. Apparently, he wanted to emphasize that.
Right.
All right. So there are times, I think that certain things are emphasized. Again, I'm not the Hebrew scholar that I could say that there's anything here beyond what I've just told you. Okay. If there is, I don't discern it. All right. Again, when a similar instances of this thing where it seems like he's talking to the same people or he's saying the same thing, just words it a little differently, my understanding, in some instances, that is how Hebrew, certainly in a poetic sense, is formed a lot of times. Now, there's probably people who know things like this better than I do. I know enough Hebrew to be dangerous. All right. But it was one assembly. It was one people assembled at the foot of the mountain at that time.
Right.
Right?